It's the middle of the night. You're awake. Again. The room is dark, the door is locked, the mattress cost more than your first car, and your body has decided that 2 in the morning is a fine time to lie there and think about everything. So you do the thing everyone does. You check the time. You do the maths. 5 hours left if you fall asleep right now. And underneath that, a quieter thought. Something is wrong with me. But here's what's strange. Almost every condition in that room, the sealed dark, the silence, the single unbroken 8 hours, the sleeping alone, is brand new. Your ancestors slept without a single one of them for 200,000 years. So how did they actually do it? Not the guess, the measurements, because we have them now, and they are not what anyone expected. In 2015, a team led by Jerome Siegel at UCLA with the anthropologist Gandhi Yatish put activity monitors on people in 3 groups living without electricity: the Hadza in Tanzania, the San in Namibia, the Chimane in Bolivia. 3 continents, no light bulbs, no clocks, no mattresses, no blue screens. Then they waited. Nearly 1,000 days of recorded sleep. Now, before you hear the result, take the guess everyone takes. No artificial light means falling asleep at dusk, right? Long, deep, luxurious nights, 9 or 10 hours, the way humans were supposed to sleep before we ruined it. Every part of that is wrong. They slept between 5.7 and 7.1 hours a night. That is not more than you. For a lot of people watching this, that's less than you. And they didn't go to sleep when the sun went down. They stayed up, on average, more than 3 hours after sunset, talking, eating, working on tools, sitting by a fire. The hours after dark were social hours, not sleeping hours. Then, something even stranger showed up in the data. The signal that tracked when they fell asleep wasn't light. It was temperature. Sleep onset followed the nightly drop in temperature, falling as the air cooled, waking near the coldest point of the night, usually before sunrise. Not the sunset, the cooling, which quietly explains something about your own bedroom. If you sleep badly in a warm room and well in a cool one, that isn't a preference. It's an instruction your body has been following since long before there were rooms. But the finding that should stop you is a much smaller one. In these groups, chronic insomnia was essentially absent, not reduced, not less common. When researchers asked about it, the concept barely translated. The San have no word for the state you were in an hour ago. Lying awake, wanting sleep, unable to reach it, worried about it. 6.5 hours of sleep, no darkness, no mattress, no insomnia. So what were they doing right? Go further back first, before beds, before fire. Because your ancestors' sleep problem started as something much simpler. Where do you put your body for 8 hours without being eaten? Every great ape alive solves it the same way. In a tree, in a fresh nest, built new every single evening. A chimpanzee bends and weaves branches into a springy platform, tests it, adjusts it, and abandons it in the morning. Building a bed is a daily skill they learn by watching. The primatologist Fiona Stewart did something wonderful to find out how good those beds actually are. She slept in them. Nights in chimpanzee nests, comparing them to sleeping on the bare forest floor. The nests were warmer, more stable, and dramatically better at keeping insects off. Chimps sleep around 9 or 10 hours a night up there. Safe, off the ground, alone in their own bed. Then your lineage climbed down. Sleeping on the ground is the single most dangerous decision in your evolutionary history. A body on open ground at night, unconscious, in a landscape with lions, hyenas, and leopards that hunt in exactly those hours. Every instinct says don't, but the ground is where we ended up, and two things made it survivable. The first is fire, not for warmth, or not only. A fire is a wall that predators won't cross, and it has to be fed, which means someone is always half awake in the night doing it. The second thing is bedding, and here the evidence is astonishing. At Border Cave in South Africa, the archaeologist Lynn Wadley and her colleagues excavated layers of grass, recognizable, deliberately cut bedding grass, brought into the cave and laid down as a sleeping surface. The date on that bedding is around 200,000 years old. It is, as far as anyone knows, the oldest bed ever found. And it gets better. The grass was laid on top of a layer of ash. Wadley's team argues that was deliberate. Ash deters crawling insects and ticks, so the bedding sits on a clean, hostile to bugs base. At Sibudu, another South African site, her team found bedding from around 77,000 years ago layered with leaves from a tree whose chemistry kills mosquitoes. Read that again. Your ancestors were building insect-proofed bedding 170,000 years before agriculture. They were not sleeping rough. They were sleeping engineered. Which brings us to the part that will change how you feel about your own bad nights. David Sampson, an anthropologist who studies sleep across species and cultures, spent 20 days recording sleep in a Hadza camp. 33 people, wrist monitors, night after night. He was looking for something specific, not how long each person slept, but whether their sleep overlapped. Out of more than 200 hours of observation, the number of minutes when every single adult in the camp was asleep at the same time was 18. 18 minutes out of 200 hours. Somebody was always awake. Not on a rota, not assigned, it just happened. Older adults drifted off early and woke early. Younger ones stayed up late. Someone stirred to feed the fire. Someone sat up with a baby. Someone simply woke for 20 minutes and lay there listening. Sampson called it the sentinel hypothesis. A group whose sleep is staggered and lightly broken has an unbroken guard all night for free. Now hold that against the thing you were doing at 2 in the morning. Waking in the night is not a malfunction. In a group of 30, it was a shift. Your body still runs it. There's just nobody left to relieve you, no fire to feed, and a phone on the nightstand to tell you you're failing. And the historical record says the same thing from a completely different direction. The historian Roger E. Kirch spent years reading letters, diaries, court records, medical texts, and plays from pre-industrial Europe and kept hitting the same phrase. Not sleep, first sleep, and then second sleep. People went to bed early, slept a few hours, and woke for an hour or so. And that waking hour was ordinary, completely unremarkable, never explained because everyone reading already knew it. They prayed, they talked to whoever was next to them, they had sex, they tended fires, checked animals, thought about the day. Then they went back down for their second sleep until dawn. The interval even had names. In English, the watch. And in the 1990s, the psychiatrist Thomas Ware did the experiment that made this eerie. He took modern volunteers and gave them 14 hours of darkness a night. A long winter night, no lamps, nothing to do. After a few weeks, their sleep came apart. It split into 2 blocks with a calm, wakeful gap in the middle. Not anxious, not tossing. Subjects described the interval as peaceful, almost meditative, and their hormone levels backed that up. Give a modern human a long enough night and segmented sleep comes back on its own. Here's where I have to be honest with you, because this is the part the internet always skips. Those two findings don't perfectly agree. Ekertch's first and second sleep comes from temperate Europe, where a winter night is 14 or 16 hours long, far more darkness than a person needs. The equatorial foragers Siegel's team measured on 12-hour nights mostly didn't split their sleep in two. So which one is the true ancient human pattern? Neither. That's the answer, and it's a better one. There is no single correct human sleep. There's a system that adjusts. 1 block when the night is short, 2 when it's long, less in summer, more in winter, staggered across a group, tuned by temperature, held together by company and fire. Flexible and light enough to be woken. David Sampson and Charles Nunn found the fingerprint of that flexibility by comparing us with other primates. For an ape our size, we sleep noticeably less than expected, but a bigger share of it is deep and dream-heavy. We didn't just shorten our sleep, we concentrated it. Short, dense, interruptible sleep is not a modern injury. It's the design. Which leaves one question. If ancient sleep was that short anyway, what did electricity actually take from us? There's a clean answer, and it comes from a natural experiment. The biologist Horacio de la Iglesia studied 2 communities of Toba Calm people in Argentina. Same culture, same latitude, same season. One community had electric light, the other didn't. The group with electricity slept about an hour less. Not because their bodies changed, because the night stopped ending. Light pushed bedtime later, while the morning stayed exactly where it was, and the hour came off the front of their sleep. The seasons flattened out too. The group without power slept longer in winter, the way a body expects to. The group with light bulbs slept roughly the same all year. So the damage isn't that you sleep in 1 block, or that you wake at 3. It's that the dark stopped deciding when your day was over. So look around your bedroom one more time. Sealed windows, no fire, nobody within earshot who'd wake if you did. For most of human history, sleeping alone in a room was almost unheard of. A number on a clock to measure yourself against, and a light in your hand that tells your brain it's still afternoon. Almost nothing in there matches the conditions your sleep evolved inside. And the one thing your body still does perfectly, waking up in the middle of the night, alert, listening, ready to take the watch, is the one thing you've been taught to treat as a symptom. So the next time you find yourself awake at 2 in the morning, doing the maths, calling yourself broken, consider the other reading. You're not failing at sleep. You're standing a watch that nobody needs anymore, over a camp that's already safe, beside a fire that went out 200,000 years ago.